Let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack something you literally see every single day, but probably totally misunderstand. Most people think cement is just this boring, simple gray powder. You add some water, it dries out, and it gets hard, right? Well, actually, no. That couldn't be further from the truth. Cement is actually a highly reactive, insanely complex chemical agent. So I really want you to ask yourself, what actually happens when cement gets wet? I want us to completely throw out our assumptions today. We're going to look at the invisible, microscopic world that is quite literally holding up our cities, our bridges, and our homes. It's not about drying out at all. It's about a dynamic, microscopic chemical transformation.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, let's use a metaphor. Cement is essentially a latent chemical engine. Think of it as a carefully calibrated, meticulously engineered mixture of reactive compounds that is just sitting there, waiting for water to act as the spark. Today, we're going to see exactly how this engine is built, how we fuel it, and finally, how it ignites.
Here's our roadmap. We'll start with the concept of our chemical engine, look at the raw materials, step into the intense heat of the kiln, check out the finisher stage, dive into the hydration process, and wrap up with soundness. Let's get going.
First up, raw materials. This is the foundation, because before we can ignite this engine, we absolutely have to gather the right parts.
And to blend these materials perfectly, you need scale, absolute staggering scale. Just picture massive chevron stockpiles at a cement plant. We're talking enormous machinery continuously stacking and blending crushed rock layer by meticulous layer. It is a highly calculated process to guarantee a totally consistent chemical composition before it ever moves down the line. It's kind of crazy to think about the sheer brute force required to set the stage for such delicate chemistry.
The engine's foundation relies mainly on 4 core ingredients. We bring in limestone to get our lime, that's calcium oxide, making up roughly 60 to 65% of the mix. Then we mix in materials like clay or shale to get silica, alumina, and iron oxide. But you can't just toss these into a pile. They have to be combined in incredibly strict stoichiometric proportions. If this initial fuel mixture is off by even a tiny fraction, the final engine, it just won't run.
Next, we take those perfectly blended powders and move to the heart of the whole operation, the kiln, where we forge the clinker.
We throw our raw materials directly into this massive rotating furnace and subject them to a mind-blowing 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside this intense thermal forge, the alumina and iron oxide actually act as fluxing agents. This basically means they lower the melting point of the silica, which allows all these materials to partially fuse together. What comes out of this extreme heat are these grayish-black nodular pellets called clinker. Our simple raw rocks have literally been chemically transformed into entirely new, highly reactive compounds.
This represents a massive chemical shift. If you look at the chemical breakdown, you'll see the calcium oxide spikes to over 64% in the clinker. That's because the extreme heat decomposes the calcium carbonate in our original limestone, releasing a ton of carbon dioxide and leaving behind the pure, highly reactive lime that we absolutely need to build our structural compounds. Now we're at the finisher stage. We've got our clinker, and we pulverize it into a super fine powder. But wait, if we stopped right here, our engine would be dangerously uncontrollable. We have to add gypsum. During this final grinding phase, manufacturers add between 3 to 5% gypsum to the mix. Gypsum is a naturally occurring calcium sulfate dihydrate, and it has one job and one job only, to be our timekeeper. It acts as a crucial regulator by physically slowing down the initial reaction of the cement so that we actually have time to work with it. Without that gypsum timekeeper, we'd experience what's called a flash set. Those highly reactive aluminates formed in the kiln, the split-second water touched them, the powder would heat up and stiffen almost instantly. It would be completely unusable for construction. Gypsum buys us the precious hours we actually need to pour and place the concrete. Which brings us to hydration. This is where we add the spark to our engine, water. This is chemistry in action. Cement chemists use a neat shorthand notation, known as Bogue's compounds, to describe the 4 main reactive phases. Don't let the notation intimidate you. Simply put, C3S is the powerhouse that gives your concrete its early structural strength during that critical first week. C2S, on the other hand, is the late driver. It reacts much more slowly to build long-term durability over months and years. C3A is the highly reactive one that wants to flash set, and C4AF acts as a fluxing agent and gives cement that classic gray color we all recognize. So, ignition. When water hits this powder, an exothermic reaction immediately kicks off. It literally starts generating its own heat. The C3A tries to react super fast, but remember our gypsum timekeeper? It steps right in, forming a microscopic, protective layer called ettringite around the cement grains to throttle that reaction speed. Again, this is what gives the crew the time they need to pour foundation. As that protective ettringite barrier slowly breaks down, our main silicates, the C3S and C2S, really start to react with the water, and they create something called CSH gel, or calcium silicate hydrate. This gel is absolutely the hero of our story. It is the fundamental molecular glue that turns a fluid, plastic slurry into a dense, impenetrable artificial rock.
What is happening here on a nano level is just fascinating. Picture these microscopic silicate chains physically locking together into a dense three-dimensional grid. Calcium ions bridge the gaps, pulling the chains tighter and tighter. This interlocking nanostructure continuously forms, absorbs the water, and hardens the material over weeks, months, and amazingly, even years. The engine is literally building its own structural integrity over time.
But getting a building to harden is just part of the battle. We also have to make sure the engine doesn't shake itself apart as it ages. This brings us to a critical concept called soundness. Think back to our raw materials and why we needed that perfectly balanced fuel. If our materials were unbalanced, like say, we had way too much calcium entering the kiln, we'd have a major problem. That excess unreacted calcium gets trapped inside the hardened concrete as free lime. And when moisture eventually finds its way in, that free lime slowly expands. It literally cracks the concrete from the inside out, making the cement completely unsound.
This catastrophic delayed expansion is exactly why we have such strict chemical limits. For instance, standards dictate a maximum of roughly 2% magnesia, along with strict limits on free lime. By keeping our fuel ratios incredibly exact, we prevent that inner expansion and guarantee the long-term integrity of our buildings, ensuring they don't just crumble decades down the line. So as you can see, cement is so much more than just a powder that dries. It is a brilliantly, perfectly balanced chemical engine. When engineers truly understand this complex hydration process, everything from Bogue's compounds to the essential role of gypsum, they can manipulate these reactions to build towering structures that will safely endure for generations.
Which leaves us with this final thought. The next time you walk past a construction site or drive over a massive concrete bridge, I want you to remember the invisible, microscopic chemical precision required to safely sustain all that infrastructure. If cement is a latent chemical engine, are we ensuring its fuel is perfectly balanced, or are we letting hidden flaws quietly crack our foundations? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.